Hello, everyone, and I am so glad that you are here tonight, and I'm glad to be here tonight. So this is our let's refocus, let's make some money before Christmas, and let's really start killing it. I'm glad to see so many people on, and I I I apologize to you. I had all these big plans for stuff to do this fall, and right after Labor Day, I got this bronchitis. It wasn't that it was so bad, but it was that I had laryngitis and was hacking and coughing. There's no way I could give a presentation. So for those of you who were thinking we were going to have our all-day Saturday on October 9th, that's gotten pushed back to December 2nd. And this is the first time that I've done a presentation this fall. So I can't tell you how good it is to see you guys. So thank you for being here. I will tell you, there is so much going on in the note world. And I know I've seen and done a couple deals with some of you. I don't know if you're on here tonight or not, but it is absolutely proving true that whenever there is any kind of a downturn or an upset in the financial world, it is absolutely the best time to do notes. It's just a fact. Like if I go back over the last 20 or 30 years and look at the downturns, those are exactly when I made the most money. And it was extremely frustrating during 20 and 21, or I guess 21, 22, I lose track of time. But when interest rates were so low, then everybody was refinancing. And like we weren't getting the deals that I'd been accustomed to us getting. Well, I am happy to report that that's all changed now. So if you have been on the sidelines, this is the time to jump in. And the reason I was hurrying to get this webinar out is you still have time to do a mailing and try to close a deal before Christmas. But the thing is that what I'm seeing now are notes that are like 12 to 14 months seasoned. So when the bank started increasing their rates, then that's when people automatically turn to seller financing because otherwise the people can't afford the payment. And the people really don't want to carry back a note, but they don't have any other choice if they're wanting to sell their property. So it has been very, very cool to see good notes, good performing notes with a solid pay history and a great loan to value. So the time is absolutely ripe. And I encourage you, if you have time, to get letters out or do your networking, whatever marketing you've chosen in the next week or so. We can still close something before the end of the year. And if not, I would be getting everything together so that come January 1st, you can hit the ground running. Because I think that next spring is going to be huge. I think that because of inflation, the note sellers need cash. Everybody needs extra money. And so this is the perfect time to be doing notes. And that's why I'm so excited to be here with you now. So um, I know we have some questions. I do not have a planned talk. Um, I have found that a lot of times the best webinars are those where we just have a conversation and open it up for everybody. You know, if you've got your questions, the best thing is to put them in the chat, and then Matthew will combine and sort and go through with, you know, what he's already got compiled, because we did get some that were emailed in. And then we can just take it from there, and we'll just let it go and see, you know, where this heads. So, Matthew, do you want to go ahead and start with our questions that we are? Oh, you are so on the ball. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that.
So we've had Donna about, I don't know, 14 or 15 questions here come in on email.
Okay.
So that should take us a little bit of time to come through. But yeah, you guys, if you think of something as we're going, put it in the chat. And after we have answered, after Donna has answered what people have emailed, I'll ask her the chat questions. So
And if I'm talking about something and you have a question about that specific topic, definitely put it in the chat, and then Matthew can ask it so we can kind of group everything together. So it is so good to see you guys. How are you guys doing? Everybody doing well? Cool. Okay, so our first question, and I get this a lot, and that is, do I think it's better to send postcards or letters? Um, so I have to tell you that I have always sent letters. I have never personally sent postcards. I have a lot of students who have, a lot of note masters who have, but for me, I always found that a professional letter is what works the best. And I would have it very nicely typed. A one-page letter is best. And I always got, well, I know exactly what I got when I was keeping track. I got a 6% response rate and a 1% close rate. So for every 200 deals or 100 deals, I would have one closed deal. Now I might go for 300 or 400 letters and not get anything, and then all of a sudden get several all at once. But that was the average. Um, but understand that those numbers vary. We certainly didn't get those kind of numbers in 21 because when everybody was refinancing. But I think that in a good market, you can expect to get those kind of returns. One thing that I have found out is a lot of people have been using, the Vistaprint, and this is not a dig on Vistaprint, but any of the mail houses that either print your letters or print the postcards for you and mail them out. And I just do not think that you get the kind of results. In fact, I had one student who flat out said that he switched to doing his letters himself because he found that they look better. What he did, he took my advice and he said, and he added his name to the mailing list. And when he got the letter, it just looks cheap. It doesn't look like an individual letter that you sent just to that person. And that's what makes the difference. I'm 100% convinced that that's why I had such a high response rate. Because, like I said, I never used a mailhouse. And what I used to do was I had several different people. At one time, my sister-in-law would do it. I hired neighbors to do it, and I would pay them so much a letter. I would print them up, and then they would hand address the envelopes and put the stamp on and that kind of thing. So I would encourage you to think about doing that. I know it's extra work, but if it's the difference between you, whether or not you get deals or not, I mean, I feel like it pays for itself many times over. So that's what I would recommend. Now, as far as the postcards, it just depends on if you have a compelling, attention grabbing postcard. And it's very, very difficult for me to say this, but even though I have been as specific as I know how to be, and I've given you samples, if you go to the marketing chapter and you'll see the slides, I've got pictures of postcards that have been very effective. But when I ask people, and I encourage you, when you put your postcard together, I am happy to look at it for you and give my opinion. But I will tell you that a lot of them that I get, they're drab and boring. The photo just is not, like, I wouldn't even notice it if it were lying on the table. The idea is to choose a photo that would catch somebody's eye, whether it's real colorful or a striking picture or, whatever it is that you want to do. Some people like horses and dogs. One gal that had a huge response, she put pictures of her gardening, harvesting vegetables and stuff. Another person did flower gardening. And I mean, if you think about it, a lot of people are into gardening. And so that might catch their eye. A lot of people are into animals. Um, I've also had a number of people that have been very effective with making a very simple postcard with their picture on it and just a simple message, something like, I have an important message about the note you hold, or something like that. I think one of the biggest mistakes that students have made is they try to cram everything that you put in a letter onto a postcard. That is not the goal. I think the more that you put on a postcard, the less likely they are to respond. You want some kind of a hook, a one-liner that will catch their interest, like, I've got an important message regarding your note, something like that. And I'm just picking that out of the air. It does not have to be that. But the thing is, it has to be compelling, it has to be attractive, and for goodness sakes, make sure that you spell correctly. I have people that have words misspelled, and look, I have no problem. You know, what I recommend you do is have somebody else read it. If you aren't a great writer, or you aren't a great speller, or maybe English is your second language, or whatever the case may be, have somebody else proofread it, because if you have a typo on it, nobody's, well, I shouldn't say nobody's going to respond. I would not respond, because I feel like if I'm going to sell somebody a note, they should know what they're doing, and I expect them to be somewhat professional, and I would not expect a misspelled word. It's okay if they don't know how to spell it, but as a professional, they should know how to spell check and fix it. So, my personal preference would be a letter, but if you're going to do postcards, it has to be, go back and watch the videos on it, because I've really tried to be very thorough with the message on that. And once you put the postcard together, email it over to me, and I will be more than happy to give you my comments on it. Okay? Any questions or any comments, any experiences that you have had that have worked better than others?
So Donna, let's see here. We're gonna have probably a few follow-up questions here on this marketing stuff, especially with the mail. But Catherine said, I used Donna's letter and got a deal, exclamation point. So congrats, Catherine. Nice.
Awesome.
Let's see.
Catherine, you had only gotten the course like a month before that, right? And that was just, it's like a month ago or so. So I'm telling you, the time is right. Okay, so I'm glad you're on, Catherine. Okay.
All right, so Donna, we got some questions regarding marketing and mail.
Okay.
I'm gonna not go in order here. So Muzil and Erica both asked what lead sources you recommend. Where should they get lists from?
Okay. There are a lot of different places to get lists. However, I really recommend that you consider Scott Arpan. Matthew, could you look up his contact information and stick it in the chat, please? Many of you know of Scott. I've talked about him now for a number of years. I used to recommend 2 or 3 different ones, but Scott is light years ahead of everyone else. He is absolutely, the name of his company is Advanced Data Services, and it says what he is. He knows all the data. Like, he can tell you exactly what's been going on in the marketplace. And I mean, he's so good at tracking. And I have even had him do special mailings for me. Like, at one point, I wanted to do an experiment and to see if it would make a difference if I ran, if I could get only borrowers with credit scores over 600, stuff like that. And it cost a little bit more because he would have to do a separate compilation. It's a separate filter that he has to run, and he has to outsource that, so he has to pay for that. And there was another thing, I can't remember what the second one was, but I used 2 criteria, and he can do that, and he can zero in. Note seller's age is another one. So I highly recommend that you use him. If you tell him that you're my student, he knows what my criteria is. So you can say, send me a list in Georgia for Donna with Donna's criteria, or whatever states you want to do. Remember, there's a number of states that we don't do. Um, but pretty much like always, Texas, Florida, um, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio. Those are some of the favorites. There are others, but if you're not sure of what state to do, take a look, go back and go through the marketing um, chapter on marketing. But so I just heard from Scott Arpan this afternoon, and it was very funny because I had emailed him and said I wondered if he had any insights on the market. And it's exactly what I told you in my email a day or two ago that I sent out. And that is that when interest rates were low, that we just couldn't, the market almost died because instead of having to sell, the note sellers would just get the borrowers to refinance. And so it really hurt us. And what he said was that people who were beginners who got in at that time, they just kind of fell by the wayside. And the people who have stuck it out are now reaping the benefits. And he said, he encouraged people to get back in if you've been out of it, because definitely it has changed. Um, and he said that if trends continue the way they're going right now, he thinks that we're going to see the number of notes double or triple in the next year or two. Um, Simply because the longer that the bank rates stay high, the more seller carrybacks there will be, and the more seller carryback notes that there will be to buy, and the note sellers will be more compelled to sell, primarily because of inflation in the economy. So it was a really good call, and he's as or not call but email. It was very exciting to see that he thinks the same as I, that we're just at the beginning and we're really going to see a great market ahead of us for seller carrybacks.
Okay, very good.
Kind of got off on a tangent there.
No, that's great. I put in the chat Scott and Scott's information along with list source, and you still have a relationship with Mike White, right, at Note Docs?
Mike White, I've not talked to him in a long time, but he always was very reputable. And he also, it's been a couple years ago, but he revamped his website and everything. So yes, I would recommend him. Other people use ListSource. They went through some changes, and I don't find them to be as customer service oriented. I really highly recommend Scott. That's who I would go to. The other advantage of using Scott is that if you tell him you're my student, he does not give the same leads to two of my students. So like if he gives you a 6-month, pretty sure it's 6-month leeway where none of my other students will have those leads that you have. Now, other people may have them, but not my students. So that note holder is not going to get a similar letter or a similar postcard the first 6 months after you buy the list. And I think that's pretty awesome that he does that. So that's another big reason of why to use him. And I don't know if you've got this on listed here, Matthew, but another question that was asked was, I have a list, it's about a year old. Should I just use that? Honestly, I would buy a new list because so much has changed so quickly, and the cost of the list is much smaller than the cost of doing the mailing. So I would rather see you invest a little bit more for a fresher list if you're going to spend the money to do the mailing. Okay.
Good answer. So Elizabeth and Andrea, I'll get to your questions after the marketing stuff here. Andre said that he said, I built my website, but I've not had any paid traffic to it. What's your opinion on this? And then he said, I bought a list in 2021 that I sent postcards to. I'm thinking about sending letters now with the new website. What do you think about that idea?
Well, really, what I just said before, um, from 21, I would not send that list. There's a good chance that those people have already refinanced. Depends on if they got in while rates were low. If I were you, I would buy a new list. As far as the website goes, Matthew, maybe you could give him some suggestions on how to drive traffic to the website or what he could do to make sure that he's got a compelling website.
Sure. Yeah, if you guys have some money that you could budget for ads, like Google ads or something, even Facebook ads, if you're doing social media on Facebook to get to your page or your website, that of course could be good. We don't have, we're not an ad agency, so we can't exactly help you with that, but all of the same principles and copy and, a lot of that stuff can be reused for that. If you're doing what Donna suggested and sending out some new letters, get a new list and put your website on it, that can get you some good traffic too. Make sure, please, guys, I've had several students, I don't recognize any on here right now, but I've had several students ask me to look at their website and their phone numbers are wrong, or the email or the link is, the email link isn't right. I mean, and it's easy to overlook those things like Donna mentioned with the typos, but that stuff you got to make sure that's all right.
Thank
So
you.
Donna, we had a question here from Aliana. She said, Arkansas and Oklahoma, are they your markets? Do you do things there?
I don't know very many people that market in Oklahoma. I can't say. I've had a couple Kansas notes, but I can't remember ever getting an Oklahoma one. I would have no problem with Arkansas. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. Let's
And I
see.
don't have a problem with Oklahoma. I'm just saying, I haven't gotten any from there.
Sure. So Elizabeth asked, she said, would you mind telling us which crime rate websites you use to screen prospective properties?
I will not be able to remember them now. What I do, honestly, I go to Google and I put free demographic, neighborhood demographics, and I see what comes out. Neighborhood Scout is one of them.
Yeah, I've used that one several times. That's a pretty good one.
I can't remember the other names because what happens is they change and sometimes they will be free and then I go back to them the next time and you have to join and I'm not going to pay for it. But Google free neighborhood demographics or free neighborhood crime rates. But Neighborhood Scout, if that's the one I'm thinking it is, it was kind of strange, but it worked for me. When you first get in, it will give you some like crime rates and stuff like that. But if you wanted a detailed report, then you had to pay for it. And I'm just not gonna, I don't want to pay for it. I think there's enough free sites out there.
All right, Antonio has a fun question. Do you feel that the use of AI is beneficial in our marketing efforts, or should we avoid using AI and stick with our personal touch?
I love that you asked that question. So one of my note masters sent me a letter. And he said, Donna, would you critique this and see if you think it's okay to send out? And it was perfectly written. I had no changes to make, not one. And I wrote him back and I said, this is a great letter. It's very informative. You've explained all the points on why people should sell and what they should do. But I said, now keep in mind, I had no idea he had used AI. And I said, but quite honestly, it's too good. It's like when you write marketing letters, you need to write at like a 6th grade level. I dumb it down when I write because you want it to be very simple. Use shorter sentences, smaller words, particularly if you're dealing with someone where English is their second language. Why make it difficult for them? And so I told him I thought that it was just way too comprehensive. It needed to be shorter and easier to read. And he started laughing because and then he told me it was from AI. So then he put it back in. He did another, I don't think he put it back in, but he did another request and asked for the letter to be written at a sixth grade level. And it came back way better. But I think that when you use AI, it will be correct. But what I saw did not have the human edge that if you wrote it, I think that your letter would probably be better. I thought that was a great test, especially since he didn't tell me, you know. So thank you for that question.
Elizabeth Block mentioned that Neighborhood Scout charges a lot. I do know that for a couple, depending on the county, they might have like a public resource where they list those GIS or whatever programs. You can put an address in, it'll show you where there's been some things. But yeah, I guess
Neighborhood Scout. So I think that when I first went there, it doesn't always let you see free information, but it definitely does sometimes. And I can't figure out why. I went back and forth, and sometimes I could get it, and sometimes I couldn't. Or there would be a little bit of information, but not the whole thing. But do what I said, and Matthew, maybe you might have time to Google free neighborhood demographics or free crime rates or best place to live in the United States. And then they'll give you a rating of the cities and you know what they are. But I do check that. I really do check it. I just use whatever site I can find.
Okay, great. It looks like we've wrapped up the marketing questions. Marketing questions so far. If you guys get some think of others, put them in the chat. But for now, Donna, both Muzil and Andrea had a question. So Andrea said, I purchased your note training in the end of 2019 and had some life events happen and didn't get to participate in the 6 months of partnership offered. Is there an option to upgrade that, buy a new updated package and get back into a 6-month partnership with you?
Funny you would ask that. So should I do have a special offer. Okay. How about if you don't mind waiting and let's go through questions and then I'll give that to you at the end, because I realize that probably most of the people on here, your coaching has probably expired. You want me to do it now? I'll do it now.
I think you should do it
Can you
now.
bring it up for me, Matthew?
Yeah, 1 sec. Maybe we could talk about it a little bit now. We could go more in depth later or something. But
Okay.
you want to start on this slide here?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, 1 sec, Donna. All right, we are up. Go ahead.
Okay. So the regular price for the coaching is $24.97 for a year. But what I'm going to do for tonight's special is I'm going to make it $9.97 for 6 months. And here's the deal, because I know like some people do want to do a mailing right away so you have money for Christmas, and other people are probably going, you know what, I got Thanksgiving coming up, Christmas, I'm not going to start till January. So this is what I'm going to do. You can start the coaching, you can actually submit deals immediately, but we're not going to start the 6-month clock until January 1. So that way you actually wind up with 8 months of coaching. Okay. That way it's good for everybody. I have something else that I really want to tell you about. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a break from the questions and tell you this because I am so excited about it. This is one of the biggest things that I have done in several years. So many of you were probably on my academy last year or the year before when I was talking about my option agreement. And the whole academy was dedicated to using an option agreement in order to like you would buy a note and sell it to an investor, and you keep the tail end of the note. And like I use that all the time. And I put the tail end of the note in my IRA. And I have grown my IRA like crazy. Like I'll just out of the blue, like a note will pay off, and I got $32,000 going into my IRA. And I don't even have any money. Well, I think I have $500 invested as my option fee, but 500 to get a $32,000 payoff was pretty awesome. So that was a huge accomplishment for me to put that package together and be able to share it with you. Well, the thing is that it was designed for if you want to keep the tail end of the note. But I needed I needed to go back and modify the original option that I used. If you want to just buy part of the note and let the note seller keep the tail end of the note. That was actually the very first option agreement that I used. But what happened was, and it was an awesome deal, I wound up making, I want to say like $55,000 on that deal, because I'm going from memory. This might not be exact, but it was something like we made 17,000 on the first part, and a month later she came back and wanted to sell the rest, and we made like 40,000 on the rest or something like that, 35. Anyway, we made a whole lot more on the second part, and it wasn't 30 days later till she called and wanted to sell the rest. So, but here's what happened. So I have been doing some research and been in touch with an attorney, and it turns out like what's been happening over the years, I mean, over a number of years, is that the SEC does not like partial purchases. Back in the 2000s, the early 2000s, in 1990s, most of my deals were partials. I did more partials than full purchases. And I used the partial purchase agreement that is in my materials. But I started hearing stories about SEC not liking partials. So what I started doing then, and if any of you have done partials with me in the last 20 years or 10 years, you know that when we've done a partial, we always sell it to an institution. I don't use a private investor on a partial. And that is because the SEC is of the opinion that two people cannot own the note at the same time. And so if they do, then that note is a security. And in order to sell that to a private investor, you have to have a broker-dealer's license, which I do not have and I'm not going to get. So whenever I would see the need to do a partial, I always would sell it to an institution. Well, interestingly enough, one of my really top students came across this deal. This was in August. And we sent it to an institution. What happens is on this particular note, it had a very long amortization, and it was like a 3.5% interest rate. And that means there's going to be a huge discount. I mean, and there's nothing they can do about it, you know? And so we weren't gouging the guy or anything like that. I truly was trying to give the best quote that I could. And I got that from an institution. So we gave that quote to the note seller, and the note seller, I'm not going to take that kind of a hit. So we gave him a partial offer as well. We gave him both, and he accepted the partial. So absolutely, I need to do this with the bank. Well, it turned out that the bank required the borrower's social security number. And this borrower, honestly, I'm not saying this just off the cuff or loosely. She was one of the worst people I've ever had to deal with. and she would not give her social security numbers. Well, after we wound up pulling the title on it, we found out why, because she had another property that was being foreclosed on, and she didn't want anybody to know that she had bad credit, you know? So at any rate, we could not do the partial with the bank. And I didn't want to lose that deal. And the student really wanted the deal. He wanted it for himself. Well, I said, okay, I will do this, but then I need to update the original option agreement that I did back like in 2016. I need to fix it like I did the one that I gave you for at the last 2 years academies, where I put in all the special language, I put special provisions in it so that no one can possibly say that two people own the note at the same time. And that is not as easy as it sounds. It took me like 4 or 5 days of working on it all the time to get it done. And so as a caution, I want to tell you, don't think that you can just use any option agreement and put in a clause about at no time do they hold the note at the same time and get by with it. That's not going to fly. Okay, there is a lot to this. But at any rate, so my student used the option agreement, and we bought, when I say we, it's my student and I working together, but it went into his IRA. But he bought, his IRA bought, I think it was 60 payments. And he actually bought the entire note. And then he gave the note seller the option to buy back the remaining payments after he received the 60 payments that he wanted to buy. And it turned out beautiful. So he wound up getting a 10.97% return, and it looks like it might pay off early, just like the other one I did. It wasn't like a month later, the note seller calls up and he wants to sell the rest. Now, unfortunately, because we divided it up into 2 deals, now he's going to take even more of a hit on the second part of it. We gave it to him and he's not happy about it. And so we're waiting to see. We don't know how bad he wants the money. But honestly, and he's a pretty smart man, I think that if he considers inflation, and if he's got like, it's probably over 20 years left on it. I can't remember, I'd have to figure it out. But think of the present value of that cash today, what he could get with it today, because the dollar is going to keep losing value. And so it would be way better for him to get whatever he can today and then do whatever he wants to with it, to invest it. So we're waiting to see on that. So at any rate, I was so happy that I got this document all updated, and that transaction turned out to be super. And so I'm going to do a workshop on how to use that to close your deals. So that way, when you get the opportunity to do a partial, you don't have to sell it to an institution. Most of the time, institutions are not going to give you as good of a price as a private investor. They just, that's the way they are. Let's just leave it at that. So you'll be able to close more deals. You will be able to help and service the note seller, and they will be happier if you can do the partials. So I wanted to tell you about that. So finishing up here, I kind of took the long route here. Going back to the 997 coaching, my really special offer, and this is not published as such, it's not something, if you don't watch the replay of this webinar, you're going to miss out on it, is if you sign up for the Easiest 1, 2, 3 coaching by next Monday at noon, I'll give you free admission to the Saturday workshop. So that's a really good deal. if you are interested in learning how to do the partials using the option agreement, that's a super way to do it. So the option agreement workshop is going to be Saturday, December 2nd from 9 to 3. We'll take a break for lunch. It is on Zoom, and the admission is $397, but we're doing an early bird special. If you sign up by Monday, November 27th, you get $100 off. And we will include recordings at that price. The recordings will not be free. If you want to get the recordings, you would have to pay for them separately. If you attended, you get the recordings free. So if you register now for the workshop, it's only $297. But if you renew your Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching for $997 for 8 months, if you will, you can also attend free. Okay. So I was trying to do something extra special. And if you want to sign up for that, it's thenotebuyer.com/option workshop 2023. Okay. And Matthew, I see, put that in the chat as well. So what is the purpose of using my option agreement? I think I covered that pretty well. It allows you to buy part of the note without having a broker's license. And why would you want to buy partials? Because it just creates so much opportunity for you to be creative and to accomplish so many different goals. The biggest thing is a partial allows you to buy a note safely that you would have never bought before, that it would otherwise have been too risky. And that's the main reason for using partials. Partials are often more palatable for the note seller because they're not taking such a huge hit all at once. And like I just said, they offer future opportunities to buy more of the note. Partials are great if you're using it like I taught last year, where you keep the tail end. You can really grow your Roth IRA, even a traditional, you can grow it huge, really quickly. But with the Roth IRA, you know, the advantages to that, you can take it out tax-free. Selling partials can be a means of recapitalizing your portfolio, particularly if you're buying defaulted notes. I know a lot of defaulted note investors that use partials to pull their cash back out. And it allows you to build a substantial note portfolio with very little or none of your own money invested. And they also allow you to keep the lion's share of the profit. And that's one of the main reasons I do them. So hopefully you can see that many of the reasons, and including your rate of return, usually goes up when you do a partial. So the bottom line is that partials are a win-win all the way around. They allow you to close more transactions, to serve the note seller better, and to make more money. And if you want to know more about this, I'm going to have a webinar on November 13th. I'm giving you lots of dates. I missed you guys, so I have filled up my schedule. We're catching up, okay? If you are interested in coming to the workshop, I highly recommend that you also attend this Monday webinar on partials. It will give you a nice foundation to go into the option workshop. And Matthew will be sending out information to sign up for that. So what does the workshop include? You get it's actually more than 5 hours of detailed instruction. I'm going to give you some examples, some real examples of how you can use partials for safety and high returns. I'm going to go through the option agreement line by line, item by item, and you will see exactly how I got past this at no time do two people own the note at the same time. I'll give you a hint here. If there is a default, what happens then? Because if you put any kind of provision in, well, I get first right of refusal, blah, 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 then two people have an interest in that note. So I had to go through this really carefully, and I will explain each step of the way so that you can see why this is such a great document to use for partials. And then I am going to take I'm going to give you a full case study of using the option agreement for the purpose of purchasing a seller carryback. If you want to be putting notes in your IRA and keeping the tail end, then you need my materials from last year's Academy. This is for the purpose of buying more seller carrybacks and just buying part of it from the note seller to begin with. And you will also get the complete documentation package that we used for using the option agreement. You'll get all the documents that go with it. You're also going to get free video replay, and we're going to have a follow-up Q&A. Mark your calendar again on December 8th. That's a Friday night. We're going to have a follow-up Q&A and our annual Christmas party. We'll combine them on Friday night. So you get all of this for only $297 if you sign up before November 27th. I mean, the document alone, like I think that a regular attorney would charge you over $1,000 to do that document if they knew how to do it. I'm not being facetious. It's that they have to be in the note business and understand the details of it. They can't create something that they're not familiar with working with. Okay. So again, you can register now for $297. That's with your $100 off for the early bird special. And if you renew your Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching, you can come to the workshop free. Okay. And here are our mark your calendar dates. I'll just leave that set up there. Oops, went the wrong way. So you can mark those down so you don't miss anything. And Matthew will be good enough to send out reminders on those. Okay. So thank you for allowing me to digress. But now you see why I'm so excited. There's so much going on and so many opportunities and notes right now, and I couldn't wait to get the information to you. Any questions on what I just said? And then we'll go back to our regular questions.
I'm putting these dates here in the chat for everybody. We do have a few questions here, Donna. Let's see. Let me get this actually here. This is the option. One last sentence here. And workshop Q&A. And the Christmas party. Oh yeah, Donna. So we're gonna do a costume party or costume contest rather.
It wouldn't be a party without it, right? We had a ball. We did it the last 2 years, I think.
So what we're gonna have? We're gonna have best Santa costume. We're gonna have best prop, best overall costume. Anything else? What do we do? I think those
whatever we did last year. You can write it up and put it in the email.
I'll do that.
But definitely a best Santa Claus costume. We had some good ones.
Okay, so those dates and deadlines are in the chat, and we'll be sending out emails and such, so keep an eye on your inbox. So let's see here. Jessica asked, so whether they get the $297 or the $997 coaching with the free workshop included, the replays are included on both, Donna?
Yes.
Okay. And let's see here. Andrea wants to know, so she was the one that asked about getting started back up with the coaching. The $997, does that include the updated training materials with that?
I wasn't going to bring that up tonight because I brought up so much new stuff. But how many of you do not have the online academy? Who asked that question?
That was Andrea.
Andrea, do you have the online academy?
That's fair, Donna. Maybe if they don't and they sign up for the coaching and they, let's see. Oh yeah, she last got in 2019. So
you definitely need an upgrade. Let me do this. I want to put together a special offer, and we didn't do that for tonight. if you do the coaching for the 997, we'll apply that if you want to upgrade to the online academy, or if you want to call us tomorrow. And I just don't want to just blurt it out right here because I want to put something special together. Okay. So let's do that. If anybody is interested in upgrading to the online academy, it is phenomenal because we took all of my material, all of the books, the manuals, and the various webinars, and we combined them and we compiled in a very organized fashion, a way where you can go through each step of the way. So everything, well, what I did was I picked out the best of the best. And if there were any supplemental things, then I would add that too. So it's broken down: marketing for notes, talking to the note seller, how to find investors, how to use the calculator. And it is absolutely the most efficient way for you to go through all my materials. The people who have used it have raved about it. And I have lots of videos with it and everything. So if you are interested in doing that, please send a message to Matthew, and we will put together a special offer, and we can email it back to you. Okay.
Yeah, if you've invested in Donna's training before, we'll give you a good offer on renewing the coaching and just getting the latest. And Donna's really put a lot of work into this online academy. It's pretty fantastic. We're still putting some finishing touches on it, but it's extremely helpful and definitely something to invest in. I'm going to put info@thenotefire.com. Email that to get that goes to me. If you have a question or want to upgrade, shoot me a message, and then I will be in touch after Donna and I discuss it.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, let's get back to these questions here.
Is Kenneth Younger on?
Kenneth, I saw his name here. Kenneth, you here still? Yeah, I think he's here. Yeah, he's on.
Hey, Kenneth, I really appreciated your questions. I did want to ask you, when you're asking about building your note buyer list, what type of notes are you wanting to buy? Are they seller carrybacks? Are they privately written notes, investor type notes? Are they non-performers? What were you interested in?
Hi, how are you? How you
I
doing?
can't see you. I know you're here somewhere.
Oh, you don't want to see me here in the man cave. It's
Well,
you know
nice
I'm
to
you know what I
hear
mean,
your voice,
Matthew.
Kenneth.
It's nice hearing everyone, hearing what you have to offer. It was mostly I'm looking at the non-performing from banks. I kind of go to the banks for my notes, and I'm not getting a lot of performing notes. Every once in a while I come by a performing note. So I kind of sell mine off. So I sell them off to some companies like to buy non-performing, but I want to get back into the performing notes, because like you said, you made a very wise statement that things are changing and they're changing fast.
Yes,
and so right. You got to change with the market. You can't let the market change for you. So I want to get back into the performing notes, and what you had. I want to get my buyers list back, but it was so hard when I only had some people, and I was going through LinkedIn. Then you had to go through the changing of finding the right person for the note who understood what you were selling. So I had to market it. And I said, well, it got to be an easy way. I said, I only know one person who would know the ins and outs, and that's you. So.
Well, thank you for the questions. And I got to tell you, you have inspired me that I need to put together a lesson on that. So, but to kind of just answer the question overall, okay, and then let me study on it and come up with something better. But my issue was I didn't know what kind of notes you were looking for. Non-performing notes are pretty much a class of their own. And the key with those are it takes a special person to buy those. Typically, it's either going to be a large company that focuses, like a national company that focuses on buying non-performing notes all over the place, or private investors that are in the area where the property is located. Like people email me all the time and say, hey, do you have any private investors that want to buy, this note on in some obscure town in rural North Dakota or something, No, I don't know anybody there. You know what I mean? I honestly think your best bet, there are a lot of directories of note buyers. I know that PaperSource has one, or at least they used to. And actually, I just was contacted just in the last 2 weeks for my name to be put into a directory, and I can look that up. It's not out yet, but I can give you that person's contact information for when it comes out. You could reach out to them. I think directories are a good way. The big thing is that you need to find out their criteria. Whenever I was looking for investors, I would keep like an investor profile, whether it was an individual, whether it was a company. And a lot of times you can get this stuff off of their website. It'll say buying criteria. It's usually the name of, and you write down what they're looking for. Sometimes it's geographic location, type of property, that kind of thing. And then what you can do if you're good with data, you can compile it on a spreadsheet. What was that? Okay.
That wasn't me. That was someone else.
You could compile that so that you could easily find note buyers who are buying in Ohio or whatever it is you're looking for. But I think directories would be a really good source for you.
But what I want to do is change the market to get performing notes. And then I want to build my buyers list of private investors to come in and buy notes.
Okay.
So that was the one I was kind of one.
So very seldom can you buy performing notes from a bank.
True. True. No.
I'm sorry?
Well, no, I would be back out marketing for performing notes.
For seller carrybacks.
For seller carrybacks, yes, marketing.
Awesome.
Yeah, then I got
to find my language.
Right, then to find a private investor to buy that partial.
Okay, so you don't want to advertise because that is a violation of SEC regulations. And I will tell you that I have seen, not recently, but in the past, I have seen, quote, gurus who tell their students that it is okay to send out an email saying something like 14% returns, privately held notes available, give me a call, or, whatever. You cannot promise a rate of return, solicit for investors and promise a rate of return. What you can do is you can send kind of like a prospectus, if you will, I call it an executive summary, and list a specific note for sale. And you can say, if you purchase this cash flow of so many months, you will get a 10.97% return. That executive summary is in, if you're looking at the gold manual, it is in there. It's chapter 14 in the big gold manual. It is also in the online academy. And so you look at the executive summary and set something up like that. Kenneth, all of my investors came from RIAs. Okay, that all of them. And what happens is once you start going to the RIA groups and networking and people know that you have notes, like I would absolutely get up, and when they have the haves and wants type of thing, I would get up and I would announce whatever note you have available so that people see that you really are doing notes. And then the next natural thing to happen is they'll come up and they'll say, hey, if you ever get any that you want to sell, if you get more of these, give me a call. That is how I've built my investor base and students. But I didn't have students for many years, and that was through my networking at the Cincinnati RIA Group.
Excellent.
Okay. Because think about it, it's the people who are going to want to invest in notes are typically real estate investors who, frankly, are burnt out with the real property. And so I get a lot of landlords who want to get out of landlording that will then buy notes. Okay. Hopefully that helped.
Yes.
Okay. Matthew, how are we looking?
Well, we still got quite a few questions here.
Well, those are all Kevin's, and I tried to roll them into one,
Let's see.
and then later I might do a class on that.
Okay, right. Let's see. There's a few others here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Raymond and Laura had a couple of questions. One was on the marketing and another on about if you're doing flips still. You want to?
Okay. Yes, I am still doing commercial notes. We really do look at each individual transaction, and so it's going to depend on what it is. There's a lot of undesirable commercial notes, but there still are some good ones out there. So absolutely, if you get any commercial notes, fill out a submission form and send it over. Okay, how many letters should I send out at one time and how often? Don't overdo it. I know everybody's anxious and somebody will send out 1,000 letters at a time. That is way too many. The problem is, especially if you are new, you don't want to get 3 or 4 to try to deal with at one time. It is too confusing. So I would recommend that you send out maybe 200 or 300 the first time. And then after you do a note, or you've at least talked to some note sellers and you're comfortable, you have a system set up and you can handle multiple deals at one time, then maybe do 500 at a time. I used to send out 200 every Monday morning. That was my routine. Friday night, I'd turn on the Flintstones and the circus for the kids, and I would sit and type up my envelopes and everything, and I would send them out on Monday morning so that they would arrive like on a Wednesday in the middle of the week. Nowadays, you probably have to mail them out on like a Saturday or something. Okay.
All right, let's see. There was another question. Connie asked, where was your question, Connie? I saw it here. Oh, Donna, I got a list from Scott in May 2023. Should I get another list?
No, I would use that list.
Okay. Zaya was asking if you would share the, what was it? The paperwork and numbers and details and such for that option deal you had mentioned before, but that's what the workshop's for, is that right?
That is what the workshop is for, because it's going to take me time to go through that. And I want to explain it thoroughly so that you can really see the thought process behind it and why it works, and so that you can explain it. And the hardest thing to get over is that you would be, if you're the investor, let's say somebody responds to one of your direct mail letters and you give them a quote and they only want to do a partial, and let's say you're going to be the investor. You are actually buying the entire note. So you are in 100% control of that note. But at any time, the note seller has the right to pay you, to basically buy you out at a predetermined price. And that's all listed out to the penny, exactly what you get. So we will definitely, you will get the actual documents. I'll go over it thoroughly, and then you will get the entire package, and you will get the Word docs so that you can easily use them for your own transactions.
Okay, I believe the last question we have here is a pretty big one, but I think you can do it justice with a short treatment. Kurt asked, how do you use your Roth 401k to purchase notes?
Well, I'm laughing because I just did the coolest deal ever in my Roth IRA. So an important thing that many people do not realize is that if you are 59 and a half and your Roth IRA is seasoned for 5 years, then you can pull profit out of that. Like, you could do a deal in your IRA and make $10,000 on the deal. Your IRA makes $10,000. And the next day, you could pull that $10,000 out tax free. Do you guys get that? So like if you're just doing business as usual and you get a $10,000 profit, you're going to pay whatever tax bracket you're in. But if you do it inside your self-directed IRA, the money still goes in there, and then a day or two later, you have them wire it back out. So this one, I've done lots of different deals, and the ones that I made the big profits on, like the 32,000, had another one for 27, I had one for 18. Those were all seller carrybacks where I sold the entire note to one of my investors, and my IRA retained an option to buy part of it back. So every time that there was going to be an early payoff on those notes, my investor got a guaranteed return. And it would be like, let's say it might be 10%, whatever I agreed to, whatever was the going rate at that time. And so, and I would give them a prepayment bonus. So for whatever period of time their money was outstanding, they would get, say, the 10%, and then they would get a bonus. It could be $2,000, $3,000, whatever I ran the numbers and came up with, which would then bump their actual rate of return up to like 14 or 15%. But and the investor is thrilled. The investor is thrilled because if I've got the tail end of the note, then I'm managing everything and they don't have to worry about anything. If the borrower did not make a payment, I'm going to make sure to take care of that because the tail end of that note is mine. Okay. So the investor is very happy with this. But whenever the note pays off early, then that huge windfall that comes from the early payoff is going into my IRA. And that is what I meant when I said, if you do a partial, that you keep the lion's share of the profit. Because you have to remember, whenever you buy at a discount, the larger the discount that you negotiate, that if there's an early payoff, whether they refinance or they sell the house or whatever happens, that discount is going to come to you all at one time instead of spread out over 20 years. And so using that technique, that's how I put a whole lot of money in my IRA very, very quickly. But I've also been doing a lot of private loans. And if you go back to last year's Academy, Academy, where I taught about doing the options, I also taught on doing private lending. My private lending is extremely different than anyone else's. I've never heard anybody use my strategies. I do it this way because in the 1990s, I did private lending, and when markets changed or investors, got overloaded, or it was mainly market change. I did a lot of investing up in Northern Ohio. And at that time, industries were closing like crazy. Little towns like Sebring, Ohio, they were built on rentals, and all of a sudden, all these employees, there were no jobs, so they left Sebring, and now you can't rent a house. So all of the notes on those houses, there were problems with them. So the criteria that I use today is very, very safe. And I set it up in such a way that I allow the borrower to substitute collateral, and they love that. It's almost like I'm giving them a line of credit, but it isn't. But it can function like that because if they pay it down so much, as long as I maintain a 45% or less loan to value, which is very, very safe, then as long as I maintain that 45% or less loan to value, I will release a property, or I will substitute collateral for you know, of similar value and condition. So it gives the borrower a lot of flexibility. And for that, I charge 10 points, which people think that that's outrageous. But if you saw the program and you ever participated in it, you would know that's a great deal. Like I have one borrower in particular that said, Donna, do you have any idea how great this is? Everybody should be doing this with you. I have been looking for money. I've called all these people all over the country. They advertise loans for investors, blah, blah, blah. They want you to pay upfront fees, all these appraisal fees, all this stuff, you know, and he would have $6,000 or $7,000 invested and not get the loan, you know, and I require no upfront money, but I have a lot of work that goes into it, so I get 10 points. So I was doing this $100,000 loan, and I'm going to make 10 grand on it. And I'm thinking, I got to figure out how I can get that into my IRA. And the thing is, yes, you can flip a note. You can have your IRA, like if you were doing a seller carryback where you were buying an existing note, you can absolutely just have your IRA get it under contract, have your IRA get it under contract to sell, and your IRA makes the profit off of it. Okay. But if you did that on every deal, then you're kind of crossing the line on, you might be charged UBIT, the what is it? Unrelated business tax. I think that's what I always call it UBIT. I forget what it stands for. But if you are running a business in your IRA, you could wind up paying taxes. So what you want to do, you want to have a mixture of all different deals. You want maybe to do some seller carrybacks, maybe do some private lending, you know, flip some seller carrybacks, keep the tail end, use the option agreement to keep the tail end, use an option agreement to buy the front, do different things. So it's obvious that you are a real estate investor. And I absolutely believe as long as you conduct yourself like that when using your IRA funds, you're not going to get in trouble for doing business in your IRA. Your IRA is to invest in and you're investing. Okay, so this literally, I stewed over this for 3 or 4 months, trying to come up with a way that I could put my 10 points in there. And one morning I woke up and I kept thinking, I got to figure out a way where this money comes in, and I can't remember what the exact thing was. But I woke up one morning and like at 4:30 in the morning, I went, oh, I can do it this way. And so I put that all together. I sent it over to Carl Fisher and he called me up. We went over it and he says, Donna, in 25 years, I have never seen anything like this, but we can do that. And so I closed that, and I didn't get paid immediately because in order to make everything look spaced out, I made it so that my 10,000 came in later on after that. So, but to be able to do that and not have to pay any tax on it, that's huge. So those are the primary ways that I make money in my IRA. And if you are 59 and a half, if you don't have a Roth IRA, if you're even approaching, like, you know what, I need to clarify this with Carl, and maybe some of you know, but it seems like to me, if you were 54 and a half and you opened up an IRA, when you become 59 and a half, you're of age, and the IRA is seasoned 5 years. So it seems to me that when you're 59 and a half, you could start doing that, where you do your deals inside the IRA, turn around and take them out a month later and take it out tax-free. I'm pretty sure that's true about the 44 and a half, but regardless, I know what I'm doing is right. So if you really think about the way you're doing it, but I got to tell you, the key is you have to start somewhere, and you have to get as much knowledge as you can so that when the opportunity presents, you know it's an opportunity, because most people don't know what they don't know. And so an opportunity to flip a note or keep the tail end of the note or whatever it is, an opportunity could be staring you in the face and you have no idea that that's a little gold mine right there, and you should do that. So the more that you can study, the more that you can immerse yourself in notes and try new things carefully and with knowledge. I'm not saying just go willy-nilly, but that's how you get to the point where you can really start doing these really cool things. And if you are interested in doing those kind of things, if you have cash in your IRA and you want to get started investing in it, then you should shoot me an email. And we'll see if there isn't a way that maybe I can help you with that. And we could do some of these really, really cool deals. Okay. Oh, one thing I thought of. So I happen to have, I just figured this out when I was cleaning out my basement. I have 18 manuals, hard copy manuals of last year's Academy. And that is the one teaching the options. If you want to sell the whole note, flip a seller carry back to an investor and keep the tail end in your IRA. And it's got all the documents, and you can already right now, you can go online and you can, get the replays of them. But I actually have the hard copy of the manual. If anybody's interested in those, let me know. I didn't think about offering that. Matthew, where is that Academy? Is that something they have to purchase separately? I'm kind of thinking it is.
We do have it listed separately, but it's all sort of under the umbrella of the new online academy too, the world tours.
Okay. So you can go in there and see the video replays. If you are interested in getting a hard copy manual, just shoot Matthew an email and we'll make a deal for you. Okay. Let's make a deal. That's my new topic. But I really encourage you. I'm going to put together a class on that IRA thing for the private investing. That was, again, one of the coolest things I've done. That the 2 option agreements and this thing with the IRA are like my top 3 things of my career that I am so proud of. And so I'd love to share those with you when I get those put together, or when I get the IRA, the private lending where I put the 10 points in, I'll let you know.
So there are a few follow-up questions here.
Okay.
So what if somebody only has a 401k through their work and they don't have an IRA or anything else? What do they need to do to flip a note in an IRA? Open an IRA with someone?
I am not real familiar with 401ks because I do not have one. Okay. So I'm probably not the best person to ask for that. I would talk to Carl Fisher. I would see, are you in a position where you can transfer that IRA to a self-directed, or that's not allowed where you're at? Do you have to wait until you leave the company? I know sometimes you have to wait until you leave the company before you can get control of it. So what I would do, if that is, let me put it this way, if you are able to convert that IRA into a self-directed one, that's the first thing you should do. And if it's, okay, and then, so if you convert it to a self-directed IRA, do that. If you can't do that, just open up a new IRA. I opened up a new IRA with $500. and I started doing deals in it, and you start doing this, you know, the 27,000, the 32,000, and then you got money to invest. And that's how I built up my IRA, but I started it with $500. And so you do these creative deals in there and just build it up. And then whenever the time comes that you can convert your 401k into a self-directed Roth, then do that. Carl Fisher is really the one to talk to on that. Okay. Maybe it's time that we have him on. He hasn't been on any of our, I haven't done any webinars, but he was on last Christmas and everybody loved it. Would you guys want me to have him on this Christmas?
That would be awesome. I think that should be our annual thing. Plus, Carl's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I think he dressed up like an elf, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was an elf last year. Is
He looked pretty cool. In Florida, sitting out on his patio, and his wife brought him this great big drink, and he was definitely in the festive mood. Okay, I'll see if he's available for the Christmas party. But he's definitely the one to ask.
Yeah, I put the link to their contact information in the chat. You can just go to camaplan.com. And when you call them, just say I'm one of Donna's students and I had a question for Carl, and they'll get you in touch with them.
And if you are starting a new IRA, he gave my students a special deal. I can't remember now what it was, but we have a banner on our website that if you go there and you contact Carl through the banner on the website, it's either they waive the application fee, or it's a reduced application, or your initial setup fee. It's a good deal. So if you do not have a CamaPlan IRA and you want to do that, go to the website and go through the banner.
So we've had a couple of questions about the online academy. If you've picked up we're going to debut this soon, but if you've picked up Donna's training, the home study course, Master Guide System, or the Academy World Tours, or anything like that in the past couple of years, send me an email. I'll give you a little preview of the online academy. You can possibly upgrade before we debut it. Is that okay, Donna?
That's okay.
And I'll explain to you what the differences are. And once we debut this, there'll be a lot of information about it, and you'll be able to get in there. Basically, we have some things on the notepire.com of the training materials and some on the new site. And once we officially launched the new online academy, all of your training, even if you're an older student or invested years ago, everything will be available on the new platform. So thanks for your patience.
Well, clarify that. Even you would have to pay for the upgrade to access all of the new videos and stuff. But if you would still have access to what you've already paid for, it would just be on the new platform.
That's right.
Matthew and I both spend a lot of time just going through and try to curate everything and find the best videos and the best write-ups. And then there was a lot that I just didn't know because things had changed, or I had more to add to it and that kind of thing. I think you'll absolutely love it. What I like about it is it's so well organized. Matthew found a great application. I don't know what you call it. I don't think is it an app? Is that an app, Matthew?
Yeah, the courses thing.
Yeah, it's an educational platform. So everything's all organized and you can go through it very easily. And if you want to go back and restudy something, it's real easy to get to. It's just really well organized. And I think you'll really enjoy going through it.
Cool. So we've already got a few of you guys registered for the option workshop. That's very exciting. Catherine, can't wait to see you there. Kenneth's here. We got a couple others. Several of you have already messaged me. Donna, it looks like your academy manuals are disappearing already.
Okay.
So a few others of you that I've said that I'll talk to on the phone. Let's do that tomorrow. Send me, and those of you who've sent me an emails about the other things, we'll get back to you. If you want to talk to me about what's going on with these offers or with Donna's training, I will be more than happy to spend time with you guys tomorrow. And just shoot an email and we'll figure out a time to talk. info
I
at
am
the,
thrilled that you all want to upgrade. I know you will be happy with it. I apologize. I mean, Matthew and I actually talked about it this afternoon. I didn't want to overwhelm you with a bunch of stuff to buy. I just want you to get back involved and start doing notes. And so my focus was on the option thing. And I do think that the renewal of the of your I think the renewal of your easiest 1, 2, 3 coaching is critical. I will say this, if you go ahead and do the easiest 1, 2, 3 coaching for $9.97, and that starts immediately, but the calendar starts January 1, so you get 8 months of coaching. You can come to the option class free. And then if you decide that you want to upgrade to the online academy, we'll apply that $9.97 to whatever that price is. I don't want to give out a number because I want to make sure I'm giving you a good deal. Okay. So I apologize that I didn't get that on, but if you can sign up for that option thing, and the power of partial webinar on the 13th, that's free. So regardless, plan on coming to that, because I will show you why it's so important to do the partials, and then you're really going to want to do the option agreement.
all right, I'm going to put this link and the dates one more time in the chat for you guys. Mark your calendars. We'll send out the dates and everything and links and stuff with the replays. I will have those out tomorrow. I said maybe Friday, but I'll get it done tomorrow. We'll get the replays out to you and give you guys some time to sign up for the workshop. Please keep an eye on your inboxes because we're going to be sending out a lot of announcements via email. As you know, that's why you're here, because all of Donna's the email list is where you get notified of what we're really doing. So keep an eye on that. Anything else, Donna?
I want to thank you all for being on here. I seriously mean it. It is great to see you. And I can't wait to close some deals with you. I'm ready. I'm well, feeling great, and can't wait to close some deals. So if you're ready, get your marketing out, call Scott Arpan if you need to, and let's get going. We'll make some money. Okay? Thanks a lot. You guys take care and God bless.